All right, so I'm about to show you the exact Claude AI workflow that runs my $10 million YouTube channel. And this is the same workflow that I did over $1 million in AdSense from. And across all my channels, I've made over $10 million directly from YouTube. And my community members have made over $100 million in revenue. And I do it without an automated marketing department. I don't have an army of AI agents running 90% of my content, right? I did not need to be some kind of genius to set up this AI. And you don't need to be some kind of AI genius to make this happen. This isn't gonna be another one of those guru videos where they tell you to do one thing and then the actual thing they do is completely different, because that's like 99% of the AI gurus on YouTube, right? For instance, they'll tell you to make an AI avatar with HeyGen, and then 99% of their videos are not AI avatars. There's a reason for that. They're doing what actually works, and then they're telling you in many cases what you want to hear. They're doing what actually works, and then they're telling you the marketing BS. And if you're one of those people spending 80% of your time configuring Claude with APIs and terminals, instead of actually creating content, you're just doing it wrong. But no more, because in this video, I'm gonna be walking you through this workflow step by step, what I automate, what I don't automate, what I have other people do, and I'm even gonna talk about what you should be doing at different levels of business, right? And stick around to the end, because I'm gonna be revealing one Claude skill that's responsible for almost every dollar of revenue that I've ever made from YouTube, and almost nobody is teaching it. All right, so let's jump in right now. And look, I have been making content on YouTube for almost 20 years at this point, right? I have been doing this since 2008. My very first channel that I ever made on YouTube was on RuneScape. Yes, the video game RuneScape. Don't ask. And I've been a full-time YouTuber for the past 6 or 7 years on this channel, and I've made over $10 million from YouTube directly. And on top of that, I run a portfolio of companies, including a coaching program where my clients have collectively generated over $100 million in results across pretty much every niche you can imagine. So I've seen what it takes to make a successful YouTube channel before AI, and I've seen what it takes after AI, and specifically after Claude. And let me tell you, the difference is astounding. It is absolutely insane how much easier content creation has gotten if you know what to use Claude for, and just importantly, what not to use it for, because what you shouldn't use it for is probably just as important as what you should use it for. So in this video, I'm gonna be literally walking you through step by step my entire content workflow, every single step, what I automate, what I have humans do, and what I personally do myself, and what I recommend that you do depending on what level of business that you're at. Now, this can absolutely be done with a one-person business. You do not need to hire anybody. And I actually have different levels for the different levels of business that you're at, right? So this is what the basic workflow looks like. I'll put it up on the screen. We've got idea generation. Then we've got the holy trifecta, which is basically the thumbnail, the title, and the intro. I like to do all of those together, and I typically like to do them at the beginning. You don't need to create the entire thumbnail, but at least you need to do the thumbnail idea at the beginning. Then you've got script writing, then you've got recording, then you've got editing, then you've got uploading and optimizing, then a final check, and then launch. And then you analyze the results. So that is the whole content machine. Now we're gonna go through this step by step. I'm gonna show you where to use AI, how to use it in every single step, and what other things you should be doing. Now, most of you watching this are at stage 1. So it's just you, and that's totally fine. Same machine, just done by one person. We're gonna walk through every step on how to do that. However, there are actually 4 different stages, and there's even a 5th stage you get to where you basically syndicate your content to every single platform. But we're gonna focus on stage 1 for now, because that's where pretty much everybody should start. But before we get into the workflow, let me just tell you how to actually think about Claude. Claude is like the savant character from the movie Rain Man, right? So if you've seen this movie, he is a genius at a certain narrow group of things, right? Insane processing power, but left to his own devices, he doesn't really know what to do with it. In the movie, the main character is the one who decides where to go and how to use that gift. And together, they clean house in the casinos. But apart, neither of them wins. And that is Claude. Claude is kind of like the savant, and you are kind of like the director, right? Without you telling Claude the game to play and when to call it, Claude just sits there doing nothing, or worse, doing the wrong thing really, really well. And I know all the different AI gurus are out there saying that it's, it's not like that and things are gonna change, but listen, I have talked to some of the smartest people when it comes to AI. I even hired some of them for my team. One of them is literally living right next to me right now. I literally paid for him to move to me. And let me tell you a little secret about all these AI gurus that you've been watching. Most of them are not actually good content creators. And I'm not making this up, right? I've scoured the entire AI niche on YouTube. I've watched probably hundreds of these videos, and here's what I noticed. If you took their content machine and applied it to literally any niche outside of AI, they would not get views, right? They would not get clients, and they would not grow. So how are they popping off? Well, it's because they're making what's known as an asymmetric bet. A really, really smart bet, actually, right? So basically what this means is the floor is high and the ceiling is even higher. If their business actually works, which they're promoting their business from YouTube, they're building in public, great. They'll probably have a 10 million, 100 million, maybe even $1 billion exit. If it doesn't, they still built a massive personal brand by documenting the journey, and they literally cannot lose. So look at Alex Hormozi. The guy runs an entire investment company, and his biggest source of deal flow is YouTube. The personal brand is his moat. And you can sell anything if you have a YouTube channel because YouTube is the most potent form of traffic in the entire world. Long form video outperforms anything else, and really nothing else even comes close. So literally any type of business works if you have a YouTube channel. And these AI guys, they're basically spending maybe an hour a day on their channels because the content is just a daily diary, kind of like a video diary about what they're already doing, and that's why the content is mid. They're not pouring 30 hours a week into it. Now you might be thinking, wait, Shane, are you bashing AI gurus? No, it's actually a smart bet. I respect it, but you don't need to play their game to win. You can actually be good at content, which is exactly what I'm about to show you. All right, quick break. This week, I'm doing a one-time only workshop where I talk about
how to finally make money from youtube.com in 2026.
And you can check it out down in the description and the pinned comment below. At this workshop, I'm going to be giving away the Niche Validator Pro completely free. This is a GPT powered by a piece of software that I've been working on for a long time now, and it's been trained on thousands of hours of my teaching, coaching sessions, and more, so you don't have to spend years to pick a profitable niche. You can do it in a matter of minutes. Heck, it's even possible to do it in seconds sometimes. And I'm going to be giving this away at the workshop. So make sure you click the link in the description and then show up to the workshop. And the best way to do that is to make sure you add it to your calendar once you've signed up for it. So you basically just click add this to your calendar once you're on the thank you page after you've registered. And it'll show up as either Google, Apple, or Outlook calendar, whatever calendar you have. So you can make sure you won't miss the chance to grab the Niche Validator Pro completely free. And you'll also be able to ask me questions live. So I look forward to meeting you. Can't wait to see you there. I'm going to be showing you this new opportunity. It's completely free, and it's amazing whether you basically want to use it to get a better job, use it to network, use it to make some passive income, start a side hustle, make a full-time income, or even start a full-on business. It works incredibly well with all of those, and it's completely free. So make sure you click the link in the description and then show up to the workshop. And now back to your regularly scheduled content. So before we go through each step of the workflow, let me explain how we're going to use Claude. The most powerful way to use Claude, especially if you're not technical, is something called Claude skills. Now think about Claude skills like this. Each skill is like hiring a specialist employee with one job. So you wouldn't hire your accountant to design your logo. You wouldn't hire your barber to fix your car, and you wouldn't hire your dentist to manage your investment portfolio. Same logic with Claude. One skill, one job, done really well. And each skill is just a markdown file or a .md file. You don't need to download skills from GitHub or anything else. You can just type /skill, skill creator inside Claude, and it'll build you a custom skill for whatever you need. And I have one for every step in my workflow, and I'm about to walk you through each one of them. So step one of the workflow is idea generation. And the skill I use for this is what's called the icon method. And here's what it does. It scans YouTube for outlier videos, specifically videos from smaller channels. We're talking less than 100,000 subscriber channels that are punching way above their weight. So a channel with 5,000 subs, for instance, getting 1 million views on a video, or a channel with 20,000 subs getting 300,000 views on a video. That's where the gold is. And then it does something that most people don't think to do. It specifically hunts for videos that are mediocre or preferably bad that still got massive views. So think of it like being a talent scout in baseball. You're not looking for the LeBron of YouTube. That's already been done. You're looking for the player that nobody has drafted yet, who's putting up monster stats in a tiny league that nobody's watching. So bad production, massive views, that's a pure signal that the idea is what the people want, not the polish. Because if the video did well, despite the video itself being mediocre, and despite coming from a small channel, aka there's no huge audience that's just gonna watch anything you put out, then it almost certainly has to be the idea that's doing the heavy lifting. And here's where it gets meta. The idea for this video was generated by this exact skill, okay? So I basically ran the icon method on Claude AI content. I found a few outlier videos, saw the pattern, and that's what we're building right now. By the way, there's multiple different versions versions of the icon method. There's some that you do for views. There's some that you do where it'll actually predict the revenue you're gonna make from the video. And there's some you can do off of YouTube as well. So this is a simplified version of the icon method. And we are giving away a free simplified version of this skill at the live workshop this week. So click that link in the description in the pinned comment below. It takes about 30 seconds to install, and you can run it in your niche before you make another video. And it's an absolute game changer. Now I'm gonna give a super simplified version of this in the description in the pinned comment below. You can check it out down there so you can follow along. All right, step 2 is the holy trifecta, which is the thumbnail, the title, and the intro. Now, these 3 things are incredibly important, and they basically decide everything, and I highly recommend that you do them at the beginning before you actually create the video. Now, it's not only important that you have a good thumbnail, title, and intro, but more important, it's important that they are actually congruent with each other. This is a mistake that I see people make all the time. They might have a 10 out of 10 thumbnail, title, and intro separately, but they're not actually congruent with each other. And so it just confuses people and they click off the video. But really, if the thumbnail doesn't get the click, nothing else matters. If the title doesn't match the thumbnail, nothing else matters. And if the intro doesn't hold the viewer for the first 30 seconds, then nothing else matters. So packaging is 70 to 80% of YouTube success. So think of it like a restaurant, right? The sign on the building is the thumbnail, the menu is the title, and the first sip of water when you sit down is the intro. So you want to get all of these right. And if you do that, the customer is going to order the entire meal, get any of them wrong, and they walk out before they ever see the food, right? If somebody comes in and nobody serves them within 10 minutes, they're probably going to walk right out. And let me give you an example. So my brother Zach, 50 years old, technologically challenged, never made a video in his life, started his channel from absolute zero, no background, no following, nothing, totally anonymous as well before, but within 29 days, he was hitting AdSense numbers of $214 in a single day. And a few months in, he was making $400 to $500 per day. Why? Because his holy trifecta was dialed, right? We obsessed over it on every video. The ideas, the titles, the thumbnails were solid, and most importantly, they were congruent with each other. So here's an example, for instance, of the video that did really well. We'll show the original video that we found, and we'll show the video that did really well. So the way to start is you would use the holy trifecta skill, right? So the holy trifecta skill generates 5 variants of each, 5 thumbnails, 5 titles, 5 intros. And with the thumbnails, it's obviously thumbnail ideas. Now, another thing is you want to make sure to actually put in the icon method video idea that you had before. The easiest way to do this is to install something like vidIQ, the free version, so that it shows you the amount of subscribers they have, and then just screenshot the entire thumbnail and the title along with the subscribers, and then throw that into this skill. And it'll give you a bunch of different options for the thumbnail idea, the title, and the intro. And the important thing is all of these are going to be congruent with each other. And then you just pick whichever one is your favorite, and you don't have to make the thumbnail at this point, but you can if you want to. And then you line up a thumbnail, a title, and an intro. And that is exactly what we did with my brother as well when we went through this process. All right, so step 3 is the script. And this is where a lot of creators get destroyed because they just spend way too much time. And most people sit in front of a blank document and they try to write a script word for word. And it takes hours, sometimes days, and then it sounds like a robot because, well, they basically just force themselves to write like one, right? So here's what I do instead. I call this the yap to script system. And by the way, I have tried just about every script writing system out there known to mankind, and this is by far the best, okay? So what you wanna do is you want to open up some sort of thing where you're recording yourself. So it could be voice memos on a phone. You could be recording directly into an AI. A lot of them, you have the ability to do that, but you wanna open up something to record your voice. And then just talk through the video idea that you have. Now, luckily, with the Claude skill, it will actually interview you back and forth, right? So it's even better because you can just talk to the Claude skill and then it'll just interview you back and forth. And you can talk to it for 5 minutes, just really quickly, or you can just go on and on. And basically you just want to yap, right? So you can pretend like you're just talking to a friend or a partner or a business buddy or one of your coworkers or whatever, right? But basically you just go over what you want to talk about in the video and the major things that you want to hit on. And then you drop it into the scriptwriter skill. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you an outline and then it's going to give you a full script. Now at this point, you can obviously modify anything that you want. You can go back and forth on it, but sometimes it'll nail it on the first shot. And at this point, you also have the ability to choose whether you just want to go off of the outline. Some people prefer that. They just look at the outline and then they kind of just talk off the top of their head. Or if you want to go word for word off of the script. Or there's kind of an in-between where you sometimes choose to use the script and go word for word. And then sometimes you just kind of talk off the top of your head. That's sort of what I do, to be completely honest with you. But sometimes I'll just use an outline and it really just depends on the type of video I'm making. Some people also prefer to make like a PowerPoint and then just talk off of the PowerPoint. But the important thing is if you tell the Claude skill what you want to do, it'll do it for you. So you can kind of think of it like like cooking, right? You're the chef, you know the flavors, but you're terrible at writing recipes down so that anyone else can follow them. Claude is the recipe writer. You taste, you direct, Claude organizes. And here's another meta moment. The information you're reading on this video came from a Yap session. Now, to be fair, I do go off the cuff. I kind of talk about other stuff, anything that pops into my head. I'm a bit ADHD, so honestly, I like to do that. But for the most part, there is a outline and I'm following it right now. And it was all made from Claude. Now you might be thinking, well, Shane, won't the script sound like AI? Well, only if you skip the Yap session, right? If you do the Yap session, this skill is designed for it to not sound like AI. It's designed to sound like the way you talk. So take the structure that Claude gives you and rewrite it by hand. Just the intro, that's the one that keeps the whole script human. Now, by the way, another pro tip on reading scripts, I have in front of me what's known as the Elgato teleprompter. And this is something that a lot of people really love using. And you do have to be a little bit careful with teleprompters because it's easy to just kind of like read the teleprompter and you sort of just sound like a robot and it's just not very engaging for the audience and they can sort of just tell that you're reading a teleprompter. But if you use it the right way, it can be really useful. And again, you could just put a PowerPoint on the teleprompter, you could put outline on a teleprompter with bullet points, or you could put the entire script on the teleprompter as well. You do not have to use a teleprompter, but I really do like using it. I highly recommend it to people. The Elgato teleprompter is my favorite because you can actually drag stuff over to it because it acts like a second screen. But you don't have to. For instance, you could just use a PowerPoint and then you can just like look at the PowerPoint and then just talk off the top of your head. You can even use a PowerPoint and then have in the notes section an exact script. And that way you don't actually have to look at the camera. You can just have your, the PowerPoint on your computer off to the side. And then you just want to situate the video to where it kind of like looks like you're looking at the computer, if that makes sense, like it does right now. This is something that my brother did. I showed this to him. He used our AI scriptwriter on Claude and he wrote his very first video script. And this is what it looked like.
Back in the office today, but we're not getting our hands dirty, at least not yet. Look, I've been in the trades for 29 years now.
He absolutely loved it. He read it. He did sound a little bit monotone because he was reading it off of a teleprompter, but it didn't matter because you'll see the results here in a moment. And that brings us to step 4, which is the just read it method, okay? When it comes to recording, honestly, most of you are massively overthinking this, right? You don't need a $5,000 camera. You don't need a studio. You don't need lighting that costs more than your rent. You just need a camera or a phone or even just a screen recorder like a laptop, right? That is it. So think about the best teachers you had in school, right? The ones that you actually remember years later. They weren't the ones with the fancy smart boards or the laser pointers. They were the ones who read from the textbook and made the ideas come alive. The classroom didn't really matter. It's the ideas that did. So Daniel Barada, for instance, literally just looks at Google Docs on his screen and then he reads them. That is his entire content style. Like he's not trying to hide the fact that he's reading it word for word from a script and he just shows the Google Doc on his screen while he's reading it. Mark Builds Brands kind of does the same thing. He just makes these loom style videos where he's talking about whatever is on the screen. And they are both crushing it, right? Both of them, because the ideas are good and they got out of their own way. Or you can make a third style of video, which is very similar to Charlie Morgan, where you're kind of just talking with an iPhone. Maybe you're drawing on a whiteboard, and that also works really well. So I guarantee you that you are overthinking how to make content. Now, you can use an Elgato teleprompter, right? That's great. I love it. You can read from PowerPoint notes. You can literally just have a Google Doc open on a second monitor and read from it. But whatever it is, just pick whatever method works for you and get started, right? Hit record. You're never gonna know which method you prefer until you do it, right? I have clients who love using a flashcard and they'll just literally write out their most important points that they want to go over on a flashcard. I have clients who like using sticky notes and they just put the sticky notes above the camera and they just look up at whatever the next point is. I have clients who love using PowerPoints. Some of them just go off the cuff on a PowerPoint. Others will literally put their script word for word in the notes section. I have clients who just read from the screen and they go off the cuff. I have clients who read from teleprompters and they do word for word. Either way, just do it, right? You are overthinking it and there's so many different ways to do it. All right, the next step is editing. And here's the principle that changes everything. An ounce of pre-production is worth a pound of post-production. So if your idea is locked in, right? So you got a good niche, a good idea, then you've got a good holy trifecta and your script is really clean and your recording is solid, the edit is basically nothing, right? The editor just has to add visuals, on-screen text, and cut out dead air. That's about it. You don't need to have some kind of world-class editor that takes like 80 hours to edit the video into some sort of Michael Bay film, all right? You do not need that. People do not come on YouTube to watch insanely good production quality videos. For the most part, there are a few people that do, but the vast majority of people don't. If they wanted that, they would have turned on Netflix or they would have turned on the TV, but they didn't. They turned on YouTube for a reason. They want to connect with other people. And if you overly edit a video, it actually takes away from the connection that you have with the other person. So I have found time and time again that that generally speaking, minimalist style editing does tend to do better. So you can kind of think of it like construction. If you pour the foundation right, the framing goes up easy, the plumbing works, the electrical lines up. Every step after the foundation is multiplied by how well you poured it. If you skip the foundation or you do a really bad job with the foundation, every later step is going to cost you 10 times more in time, money, and patience. Now you might be thinking, Shane, I don't have money to hire anyone yet. And that's totally fine. You do not need to hire anybody. That's where it goes back to just making minimalist style content. I highly recommend you just keep your content very simple, and then you can use something like Descript. So Script has an AI editing feature that handles simple talking head and screen share style content surprisingly well. You can edit a 20-minute video in about 5 minutes. So it has AI features that will take out all the silences. You can actually edit with just the words alone. So if you accidentally said a sentence twice, you can literally just delete that sentence and it just edits that sentence out. You can also optimize the audio automatically. It just AI optimizes the audio and it sounds really good. And it has some other AI editing features that are super fast, and it's the only one that's good. Almost every other AI editor that I've used, it will sort of cut stuff in a way where it just seems too choppy and it just does not look good. But Descript actually looks good when it cuts stuff together. And by the way, even when you scale, my advice is don't hire a video editor right away. Just go ahead and hire a creative director. Somebody who can edit, but also somebody who can support the script, help the thumbnails, upload, optimize, all of it. Don't hire single task people early. Hire generalists who can grow with you. So this is the first position that we hire for our clients. It's the creative director position, and they can basically help with everything, right? And we'll get into that here in a moment. And by the way, you can hire creative directors from places like the Philippines for a very reasonable price. So this is not something where you're gonna have to spend like 6 figures a year on it. But step 6 is to launch and loop. So this is upload plus optimize plus analyze. And then close the loop with analytics. So most creators upload a video and never look at the data again. And that is how you stay stuck. So the analytics are telling you exactly what worked and what didn't. Things like click-through rate, the average view duration, etc. These are important things. So think of it like flying a plane. You don't just land it and walk away. You check the gauges, you note what the weather did, and every flight teaches you something for the next flight. And let me give you a real example, right? My client Seth, this guy was on YouTube for 8 years without any meaningful growth. In 8 years, he never had a single video get to 100,000 views. Then he started actually running the feedback loop, looking at the data and iterating on the holy trifecta. And one of his first videos after working with us got to 100,000 views. And then another video got to 300,000 views, right? Same guy, same idea, just started actually paying attention to the data. So you can launch and loop here, and after every upload, track the CTR and the AVD in the YouTube studio and track the views, etc., and then adjust the next video accordingly. So really the two things we're looking for are views, but we also look for actual revenue generated. And then we re-upload that information back into the system so it can tell us what other videos we should be making in the future. And you would be really surprised. There are videos, for instance, that get a ton of views, but they don't actually generate that much revenue. So just as an example, this video right here on our channel got over 1 million views and made about $6,000. This video right here got 7,000 views and made $48,000. And there's no way I ever would have known this unless I actually reviewed the videos, right? So obviously I would have made the video again that got 1 million views because I would have been like, oh, it gets a lot of views, so I should make that video. When in reality, that would have been a bad choice. It actually makes more sense to make the video that got 7,000 views. But now I'm going to tell you something that might frustrate you a little bit, because everything I just walked you through, it actually means nothing if your niche is wrong. I'm serious. You can have the best ideas, the best holy trifecta, the best scripts, the cleanest edits, the smartest analytics loops. You can still have all of that and get nowhere if you pick the wrong niche, okay? So think of it like building, right? You can have flawless architecture, premium materials, incredible interior design, beautiful finishes, but if it's built on bad soil, the whole thing is gonna sink. The niche is the soil. Everything else is the building, right? The niche is the foundation for everything else. So let me show you what right looks like. My client Nicole runs a channel called GRC for Mere Mortals. It's about governance, risk, and compliance. Yes, that is a real name, and yes, it's as niche as it sounds. So she basically helps people get into cybersecurity careers, and a lot of the people she helps are women. And I helped her grow her channel from 85 subscribers and getting absolutely nowhere on YouTube to making over $80,000 in a single month. And why is that? It's because the niche is dialed. Now, let's compare that to my client Josh. Josh. Josh used this system and started a side hustle while he was still working a full-time job, and he went from making less than $1,000 a month, almost nothing, to $3,000 to $5,000 a month, then $10,000 a month, then $30,000 a month, right? So at that point, it was a full-time business making more than his job. And one of the coolest things is he actually used his YouTube channel to land his dream job, right? So people were literally reaching out to him, and he used his YouTube channel to land that dream job. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the intangible benefits of making content and a personal brand in a YouTube channel. Insane benefits when it comes to networking, getting jobs, like meeting people, getting investors, et cetera, all that kind of stuff. So the indirect benefits you get from a YouTube channel are probably even better than the direct benefits. But either way, he started making so much from the YouTube channel that he actually quit his dream job, and then he scaled his channel to over $180,000 in a single month. And this is all from picking the right niche and running this workflow correctly. And both Nicole and Josh did this with way fewer subscribers than most successful YouTubers have. So it's the niche, right? This is exactly why we built the niche validator skill, and it's why we're giving it away free at this week's live workshop. And of course, along with the monetization AI and a bunch of these other different skills. So link is in the description. Don't make another video until you've validated the niche. All right, so if you've made it this far, this is the one that I promised you at the beginning, and this might be one of the most important Claude skills I use, and almost nobody is teaching this. It's called the Prospect Interaction Analyzer, and here's what it does. Every single conversation that I have with my audience, whether it's a sales call, coaching call, viewer DMs, email replies, comments, etc., and these could be comments on my YouTube channel, but they could be also comments on my live trainings or comments on different posts and social media, etc., they all get fed into this skill. For instance, sales call transcripts are pulled from Fathom, which records and transcribes calls automatically, plus coaching session recordings, audience interactions, all of it. And the skill extracts the exact language that they use, not just the pains, not just the desires, but the actual words that they use and the way they describe what they want. And that language becomes my hook copy, my thumbnail text, my video titles, my intro lines, everything. This is what it looks like, by the way, right? Like real sales call data. I know exactly who is buying from me. I know exactly what background they have. I know exactly the problems that they have. So for instance, I know with my B2C clients, one of their biggest problems is time and commitment. I know another one is niche and direction uncertainty. And of course, there's always financial constraints as well. But for my B2B clients, time constraints are actually much more important. And by the way, these are literally exact quotes. These are literally the exact words that they said. And then I can feed this information back into Claude and it produces even better content. So I will be making this available at my live training this week as well. So definitely attend it. Do not miss out on the live training. So one thing I want to say is here's the proof that every AI guru secretly knows is true. Look at them. Just look at all those channels. They all build personal brands, not faceless AI channels, not AI clones reading scripts in robotic voices. It's themselves on camera talking to you. And a few of them tried the AI clone thing and the fake AI version of themselves reading scripts. It didn't work, so they stopped. And now they're on camera like everybody else because they know what actually works on YouTube. And what YouTube is all about is trust. Okay? Trust is your moat, and you're not going to trust a fake AI avatar, and you're not going to trust some faceless entity, right? But you do trust other people, right? That is what YouTube is all about, is the person-to-person interaction. So AI can mimic a niche, AI can mimic a process, but AI cannot mimic a person, right? It cannot be a person. And that's why the hybrid personal brand method wins. You're not building a channel around a niche. You're building a channel around a human, specifically you. And that human can outlast any niche shift, any algorithm change, and any AI evolution, as long as you are at the center of it. And by the way, another great thing about the hybrid personal brand method is you can pivot to other things down the line. For instance, I've changed my niche probably 15 times here on YouTube because I have different interests and I like to talk about different things. So you want to become the king of a puddle first, you do want to start niche, but then you can expand from there. Become the king of a pond, then a lake, then a river, then the sea, then the ocean. And look, if you've watched this entire video and you're serious about building this for yourself using Claude the right way, building a personal brand that actually attracts high-paying clients, not just creating AI slop, we work with about 3 to 5 people at a time. And this is a one-on-one coaching program, and we do guarantee results. So we will help you figure out which skills to monetize, how to use AI to deliver them, and how to build a personal brand that turns content into ideas. Now, we are very picky about who we work with, which is why we can guarantee results, and it's why we get unbelievable amounts of testimonials. We've literally helped generate over $100 million in revenue for our clients. We also sent out a survey to our clients asking them if they thought they got an ROI, and 91% of them said yes, which is absurdly high. high. And we have a super low refund rate for the program. But the reason we have all those things is because of the fact that we're very picky about who we work with. So the typical type of people we work with are business owners who want to grow and make money on YouTube, YouTubers who are getting views but they're struggling with monetization, YouTubers who are crushing it but they want to crush it even harder, or professionals or very serious people who want to treat YouTube like a business, right? So you might be a beginner at YouTube, you haven't started yet, but you want to treat it like a business, right? So you're very serious about it and you don't want to take like 5 years to grow your channel. You want to grow fast. So if that is you, go ahead and click the second link in the description of the pinned comment below and schedule a one-on-one call with us. On this call, we'll figure out where you are right now, where you want to be. We'll make a plan to get there and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together or not. The call will be valuable whether we end up working together or not. But like I said, only schedule if you're very serious about growing and making money on YouTube. And also check out this video right here of one of our clients, Sean, who we helped become literally #1 in his niche. And we interviewed in this video and talked about exactly how we were able to do that and exactly how we helped him get to over $500,000 in a single month.